Hi, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Dharam Singh, your host, your friend. And today I have a wonderful person with me. She is so lovely, so beautiful, and she's so intelligent, so smart. She completed the exam, PgMP exam. Actually, she smashed the exam in a very simple words. So why I'm saying smash, she completed the PgMP exam in 2 hours and passed the exam with our target. So before this, I'm not here to make record, but previously somebody have done 2.5 hours and 2 hour 45 minutes, but the PGMP exam completing in just 2 hours is kind of unbelievable, which she has done it. So welcome and congratulations, Briana, for your extraordinary achievement.
Thank you.
And lovely to have you here, and we're going to have lots of good discussion today. And people are here to learn from you. And I know people are at midnight or early morning, different time zones. So the things that they are joining because they have seen the topic and they've seen the presenter and the host, and they want to learn from us. So thank you guys for joining. And I hope and we hope that we can give you the value you're coming here. And part of this program, you'll also get a PDU, one PDU, which I will share at a later time. Um, and feel free to ask questions and whenever you feel like. And yeah, so let's make this program, this interaction as interactive as possible. And I do have a couple of questions from audience. Previously, they've sent it. And but in the meantime, if you come across any thoughts, any questions, please put that on the question pad. And I will pick the question at the right time. If it's at the time when she's talking, I'm talking, and relevant to the discussion, I will bring it to the attention. She will not able to see the answer questions, but I will read out question for you, Briana.
Okay.
All right. So interesting thing happened. She called me on 9th July. I remember the date, and I was in Sydney. I think at the time I was in Sydney, getting ready to come back. And she said, Dharam, I have booked my exam on 9th of August. And even if you ask me, I will not change the date. You see my date, I'm happy to do my exam. And they said, okay, I did some calculations 4 weeks from now. And how can I help you? And they said, Dharam, you have to tell me how you're going to help me to make me ready to pass this exam on 9th of August. Then we say, okay, you know what, you cannot fit in the group mentor program because that's a fixed 6 week program. But I'm happy to take you a tailored personal mentor program. So instead of meeting once a week, you're going to meet twice a week. You know, and you had some homework to do, watching videos and reading and writing and learning. Come to the class with lots of questions, clarification, doubts, and discussion happen. And I think by end of July, already you're feeling comfortable. And you are getting impatient. Like, Dharam, I'm feeling ready, and how do I know when to do exam? But anyway, so the 9th of the August, when I was teaching a PMP class to Universal Studio, it was just 9 o'clock for me. I'm in Dallas, and you are in Eastern Time Zone. Send a message, Dharam, I completed the exam. I said, is something wrong? And she said, I did, I was in the class, I didn't do too much, but I was start saying something. Then after the class, I called her immediately. And have you completed? It means you passed the exam? Yeah, I passed the exam. I completed the exam in less than 2 hours, and here I am. So well done. You have done fabulous job, extraordinary job, and hence you are here in this forum. Not just talking about your PGMP experience, but we're going to talk some questions we have. There are a lot of people learning here, not just PGMP, many other things.
Mm-hmm.
So any thoughts you have before we get started? What do you want to say?
You're just bringing me back to all our fun times over the last month or so.
Yeah.
He's right. I kind of messaged him out of nowhere. I was like, I need help. I'm taking the exam in a month. Get me there. I'm not changing. I'm being stubborn. I need to know it by now. He was like, okay, let's do it. So,
Yeah.
yep.
So fantastic. I've seen only very few people come this kind of attitude. I have to do it, and this is my date. And guys, it's very important if you're doing any exam, PgMP, PfMP, or PMP, or any other exam. make sure you have a date in your mind and go for that. Yeah, sometimes it's unrealistic date, which, with Briana coming in 1 month, or, yes, unrealistic, but if you have a plan, your focus, your structure, your vision, you will be there. But in case you have some idea, I will do my exam in 1 day, someday, 3 months, 4 months, whenever I'm ready. Believe it or not, that when I'm ready will not come. As soon as you're getting closer to the exam, I think I'm not feeling good. I'm not ready. I'm not happy with my preparation. And then you move the exam. I've seen people moving the exam 6 months, 1 year, sometimes many years. It is always book a date, book a time, and go for it. Yeah, it's not always possible, but if I have seen this happening, when you are committed, things will start happening by itself. So we work together, and week by week, building the knowledge, and you got there. Okay, so fantastic. Other than PgMP, yes, you are coming as a program manager experience, huge experience, working for LMI, and via LMI, you're working for DoD, Department of Defense, and you're a very busy person. It's not just because you're preparing for PgMP and sitting here doing nothing. You are a very busy person, I know, and you have various clients and a lot of interaction happening. But thank you for giving this opportunity to everybody to learn from you. This is fantastic. Thank you, Briana, once more. You have been fabulous, and I want to appreciate you again and again.
Well, thank you, Dharam.
Okay, next up, and thank you all of you for once again for joining this session, and you have been joining this session again and again. I'm very privileged to have you. This program was started, this kind of webinar started some time back. I think I'm now nearly 80 or 90 such videos, such guests like Briana and other people came and they shared their experience. So if you have not seen the live session, you wanted to go back to some of the videos, please go back to my YouTube channel. You will find wonderful recordings, a wonderful discussion with so many professionals. If you don't have, let me know. I will be happy to share that. All right. So somebody already put a question. Can you explain the process of the first phase of evaluation, the panel review, and what does that include? Okay, but because let me take this question and then come to you, Briana, with this question.
Okay.
And if you want to put something on that, happy to add some value in that. So question is asking about the panel review, and when you're doing the application, you are writing the program description. And there are 5 questions where you're going to explain your program and your experience. So those questions will be reviewed as part of the panel. So there's no phone call, no discussion, nobody going to come or you have to go anywhere. It is just the 5 questions. Those questions will be reviewed, analyzed, and if everything looks good, you will pass that panel review stage. But don't underestimate this stage, because the 5 questions are very critical. The way you explain, even though you are one of the best program manager, but if you're not explaining in the PMI expectation, then you have to probably go a couple of times. So take it seriously, the program description and the 5 questions. All right. Briana, do you want to say anything about your stage and what happened in your application?
Yes. Definitely take it seriously. It's not an easy process. I feel like the application process was the first half of the exam. You're studying before you're even studying the material. So I had completed my application, submitted it, and then a few weeks later, I got a response. It was only like 2 sentences. Just talk about this a little bit and talk about this. Okay, so I go back to my application. I add in everything that they're talking about, and I resubmit. A couple of weeks later, and they're like, this is the same application. And I had a list like this of things that they wanted to change. So I realized I had to go through tech support. So even though I made all my changes, when I went into the application, the changes weren't in there. Even though I saved it and it said save, they said something like, oh yeah, this happens a lot. You have to clear your cache and your cookies before you submit. So even though it said I submitted, I just resubmitted the same application. So be very careful about that. I would definitely clear everything before you try to submit anything, or else it might not submit anything at all.
Mm.
So I went through that and then was finally accepted. I paid for my exam and then it went into panel review. And I think the panel review part for myself went rather quickly. I have some colleagues that submitted around the same time as me and they're still in panel review. So luckily I got through panel review fairly quickly and booked my exam as soon as I could because like Dharam was saying, you got to have a date on there or else you're not able to focus and structure yourself for those study sessions. It's extremely important to have that end date there.
Yeah. So, by the way, you didn't you didn't ask my assistance with application, but generally, as part of the mentoring program, I do assist my student with the application, with making sure the application is fully ready, and I'm happy, and then you're happy, then you submit the application. So, idea is to minimize the to and fro between PMI and you, so that you get to move to the next stage as early as possible. So if anybody is thinking about joining my program, maybe join as early as possible, not waiting, let me get my panel to be finished, then I will talk to Dharam. Maybe, we can collectively, we can reduce the time much, much faster.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully in 1 month, somebody like you. All right, Briana, my first question for you is, what leadership style do you recommend for future project program managers?
So I was looking at this question when you had sent it to me, Dharam, and I went back to PMBOK, and you have the 6 main types of leadership. And personally, I like to go for the servant leadership, where you're prioritizing the team over your personal interests. You're looking at your relationship, interactions, creating a strong reaction between your leader and your team. Because if you're not one with your team, nothing's going to work. You need to have that strong relationship with your team in order to build that communication and that really well-formed, smooth rolling connection with your team members. Now, the other option that I would also consider is the interactional, which is a combination of the transactional, transformational, and charismatic. And those really focus on your work environment, the corporate culture, and market challenges. It also focuses on conflict and complexity. And as we know, as program managers, we need to be able to adapt to a changing environment. So I think that interactional and that servant leadership, I think depending on where you're at in your project and your program and who you're dealing with, relying on one or the other and being agile enough to switch between the two is very important.
Exactly. Yeah, so the servant leadership is very, very important. It's all about, the team is there to work, but you are the leader. You have responsibility to create an environment where the team can work at their full capacity. So there are roadblocks. There's some risk or issues likely to come or already happening. So something you have to take action so that you can avoid team getting worried about those problems, those issues. Fantastic. Okay, so my next question for you is, are the program manager adapting to agile environment, where organization moves toward agility for faster change and technological transformation?
So I found this question very interesting because my own organization, MMI, is really focused on digital transformation.
Yeah.
And when you're looking into it, a lot of organizations are trying to adopt this digital transformation. I believe ours, we have a course called like digital enablement, and you can become a digital mind hunter. But essentially, it's requiring both a cultural shift and a restructuring of the products and services around all the new digital capabilities. It uses all the different agile practices while allowing the company to become more responsive to customer needs, more proactive in gathering client feedback, and more adaptive to changing market conditions. As we know, technology is rapidly advancing, so we have to be able to adapt with it quickly and understand the environment as it changes.
So even today I was in one of the PMI session. They're actually talking about I'm bringing some courses around organizational transformation or digital transformation because they see the need of transformation is everywhere. And if they don't, the organization are not changing at this stage, then they will be left behind. Or we know the example of a few names: Motorola, Nokia, Blueberry, the other names, Kodak. They didn't act very fast, and many organizations are learning from those experiences. They are becoming more and more agile, more and more ready, more doing the agile transformation or digital transformation or organization transformation. So you will see some courses coming from PMI, which is focusing on organization transformation. So as a project manager, program manager, portfolio manager, you will be responsible. You are responsible for such transformation anyway. Okay. So let me take an audience question, and it's sitting there for a long time. It's related to PgMP. How strong is the relationship between ECO and exam question? Is it really necessary to know the ECO task?
Yes, absolutely. I didn't realize how important it was until I took Dharam's mentoring sessions, but it is extremely important. You will see a lot of questions surrounding it, and unless you understand those tasks, it's going to be very hard for you to pass the exam.
Yeah. So yes, I know there's 72 tasks. Each task is very important, but it's not just memorizing the task is important. It's about understanding each of the tasks. Make sure it makes sense to you. You can visualize them. You can connect this task with some of the real life or some it's not real life, but some hypothetical program, and you should be able to see through what is happening in each task, what I'm doing, what is the next thing I have to do. That should become part of you. So don't see this task as too many tasks. I know people get worried, but when you start going through them, learning from each of the tasks, it becomes easier and easier. And I do have a particular style how to read this task and how to break it down into smaller pieces so that looking at the task instead of worrying about why and how, you focus on what to do, and the rest of the things should come to you automatically. So that will help you to learn faster and accurate. And when you sit in the exam, you should not be surprised you complete the exam in 3 hours, 2.5 hours. Because look, I'm not asking you to rush the exam. It's more about visualization, creation. And when you sit exam, when you see a question, complex question, you say, hey, that makes sense because the vision comes to you automatically. And you move through the question very, very fast. All right, so but very, very important. Yeah, go ahead.
I would just like to say that yes, I completely agree with you. You mentioned that to me when we first started the program, and of course, we're just starting, so I'm going, yeah, okay. But because I'm very good with memorization, but this isn't a memorization test. You can't just memorize the answers to these questions. You have to really understand the core concepts and where you are in the process. So in the beginning, I was just trying to memorize these tasks, and it didn't always make sense to me because some of them are they seemed a little out there, just in comparison to what you're normally used to. But as I continued going through it and I would take some of these practice exams, I'd be getting these eco questions correct, not even realizing it's one of the tasks because I just understood the process from beginning to end and where I was. So then it just came naturally to me. So it'll come naturally to you. It's not about memorizing, but you do need to be familiar with it and the sequence.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. This is very good feedback and first-hand feedback. I can say anything because I'm a trainer, I'm mentor, but it's coming directly from you, especially the person who has completed the exam in 2 hours. And that it cannot happen magically, guys. If you think that Briana is a special person, she is an extraordinary person, but it also needs a lot of effort before she comes to this point. Just like anybody, she was worried before the exam, and because you're ready, you're prepared, you've gone through ECU tasks, you know how to navigate through this complex exam. Yeah. All right, I hope this makes sense to you. If not, let me know. And please keep sending your questions, putting your questions. All right, next question I have is, how will agility be considered a core competency for future project and program managers? Agility, talking about agile.
So at this point, I don't think the word agility is a new term for project or program managers. We need to be highly flexible, adaptable, and have the ability to increase and tailor our conversations to each of our clients and stakeholders. Agility refers to the timeliness and flexibility, the ability of our project team, program team, and its stakeholders to reach an even faster uh, than the ability of the same event to adversely impact the project. So you want to be able to react before those adverse events hit your project, if that makes any sense. So in order to aid in agility, we need to establish principles and characteristics that'll help us operate in an agile manner. And I know more and more of you have seen that organizations are adopting simple Scrum principles on a smaller level. But another thing that I'm really seeing and that I think is part of the future is the scaled agile framework, and that is the acronym SAFE. I had actually taken a few SAFE courses before realizing what it was. Like it's not just Scrum, it's not just project and program management, but there's 7 core competencies of SAFE, and that is your lean agile leadership, your team and technical agility, agile product delivery, enterprise solution delivery, green portfolio management, organizational agility, and continuous learning culture. And then on top of those 7 on top of those core competencies, there are 10 core principles that guide you into the right mindset. So I think that yes, Agile is already a core competency of a project and program manager, and if it's not, then you're already behind the times.
Yeah, agility, not just agile as a methodology, we're talking, being agile, agility, energy change, as change is happening. We talk about the transformation. You have to ensure that we are ready for the transformation. Change happens, strategy change happens because that you have to restructure yourself and revise. So a lot of things happen very fast, and your businesses, your clients are expecting that you're giving the results faster, better results. If you're not doing, somebody else will do. As simple as it. So yeah, agility is one of the core competencies. Perfect. All right, my next question for you: what are the top skills program manager need to hone to thrive in hybrid working environment? First, maybe like to define what is hybrid working environment, and then what competencies are required, what skills are required.
So in my definition, the hybrid working environment is where you have some of the workforce virtual, such as we are now, and some of them in office. And we have to be able to incorporate all of our work members and be able to treat them and give communication evenly across the workforce, no matter whether if they're from home or if they're standing there in front of your face. Personally, I think I was able to hone some of these abilities early on because I started my program management job in the middle of COVID. So everything was virtual. I didn't meet a single person until a couple weeks ago, actually, when I started going back into a hybrid work environment into my own office. So we now go in twice a week. But as everyone knows, and this isn't going to come as a surprise to you, communication is going to be your main skill. So the main challenge is treating your remote and your in-office employees the same. Everyone needs to feel heard. Everyone needs to have the same message and promote equality and transparency within the organization. I think another good skill is your policy development. For example, having a call-in number for your meeting. That way, if someone's not there, they can still call into the meeting and still be involved. Or have your rotating team office days. For example, for mine, they prefer us to come in on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So a lot of our department is there on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but some of the other divisions of the organization will come in on some of the other days. It works out better that way, but we're involving everyone. Then there's also the skills of risk mitigation. So many companies implemented the hybrid work environment as a risk mitigation to high turnover rates because a survey was done and up to 39% of employees said that they would quit if they had to come in full time. So we're in a changing environment these days. We've learned that we can work from home, at least in certain situations. For example, myself, I've done 2.5 years as a program manager completely virtual, and I've done an excellent job at it, as have all of my colleagues. So we're like, wait, why do we have to go into work? So to appease us, we're doing the hybrid work environment. Some come in just a couple of days, you can remote the other days, I'd say another skill is motivation. You need to lead by example, help other members push through, understand it's harder than ever to keep up your team morale. People are facing higher stress levels, anxiety over safety and economic uncertainty, and potential burnout. I'm seeing burnout a lot. Now, I think the last skill that I would hone in on is emotional intelligence. So understanding your own emotions while recognizing the emotions of those around you. Scheduling one-on-one meetings with people is important, and fostering relationships with employee perspectives is important. So on top of being a program manager, I am also a site supervisor for my program, and I like to occasionally set one-on-one meetings with my individuals just to see how they're doing. My people know they can come to me, they can chat me, they can just call me and vent if they need to, because we need to have an outlet for people, someone where they can go to and just get everything off their chest if they need to, even if it's just to vent, or if they actually need someone to step in and help them. So I think that's extremely important in this environment.
Definitely. Look, hybrid environment is going to be norm. We are coming out from the Corona period, and where everybody has to work from home. But more and more organizations are becoming, hybrid. You're partly coming to office, partly work from home, or you have to travel. Sometimes you don't travel. All kind of things. But again, your team members are spread across. Now people are moving other part of the world. They are working from there. The time difference can be there. So you need, as a project manager, program manager, you need to understand and appreciate this is happening. Everybody has to. But as one thing you mentioned about the stress, there, a lot of people are going under stress, too much stress. I mean, I've seen people, they talk about, hey, I wake up in the morning by seeing my first message from my boss about something deliverable needed now. And wake up and start doing it without washing my face. And another meeting, another email, and before I realized already 12 o'clock, I didn't have any chance to go to the washroom and didn't have a breakfast. And somehow, go there and then come, and 7, 8 o'clock. That's why. And people are just sitting in front of the computer and maybe talking. And they do see each other nowadays, but still kind of isolated. When you go offices, you meet people. You interact with them, and you may be going out for walk, going for coffee. You have different level of bonding. But here it's all about self. And as a project manager, you have to recognize that. Program manager, project manager, you have to recognize that. And as you mentioned, another skill as emotional intelligence. What's happening with my team member? And they may be, they may not producing the expected result. Maybe because it's not that because they are not good enough, but maybe they're going through some stages. COVID time, we have seen some disturbance because of family members are going through some difficult time or some financial situation. So we need to appreciate that. So that's why we, nowadays, more importance to the emotional intelligence. So fantastic. Good. Thank you for sharing. And this comes from your experience as a program manager. Fantastic. Thank you. I will take another question from audience. I realize you are mentioning agile a lot. Is achieving PgMP would cover the agile part or the project management, or should I pursue that agile certification? So we're talking about agile, but achieving PgMP, agile is not required. But your thoughts on this?
They're both different and the same. So I don't think you have to understand agile principles to go for your PGMP. I believe nowadays you do for your PMP. I think it's 50-50. Whereas when I took it, it didn't. However, I'm seeing more and more of these project and program manager positions either wanting some sort of agile certification or some sort of training or just pushing people to go that way, because I think agile is the way of the future for most people. DoD, I think it's going to be very hard. We're pretty set in our ways, but even then, I'm trying to apply agile principles. So honestly, go for both. PGMP is amazing and awesome, and once you get it, you're going to feel like a superstar. But at the same time, I also got my certified Scrum Master certification. Those SAFE certifications that I was talking about before, I have 2 SAFE certifications. One as a product owner, product manager, and one as a lean portfolio manager. I think it's important to be well-rounded because, as we've been talking about, being a project and program manager is all about agility, not just agile, but agility to be able to take whatever's thrown at us. And if that is the agile principles, which I think is going to be the way of the future, you need to be prepared. So I would just be well-rounded, go for your PGMP, but also make sure you understand your agile principles.
Yeah. Both statements correct. But if you're preparing for PGMP, don't worry too much about agile.
Yes.
So let me tell you why. Because program is a combination of you're managing the interdependency among the components. The components as a project, they can be in waterfall, they can be agile, they can be mix of them. So it doesn't matter. In a particular program, you may have different type of projects or methodology utilized. So your job is to ensure that the projects have the interdependency managed. The stakeholder engagement is happening. Benefits is tracked and reported to the right audience. So that's what your focus is. For running the project in an agile format, that is where the project manager comes. Yes, having understanding when you're running in the organization, yes, it's required. For example, first, don't worry about agile. If you don't have any understanding of agile, I know people coming from construction and other background, they have never heard of agile in their organization because they're not using it. But that doesn't mean it's going to impact your exam. Okay, so Mark is saying, this is my first time attending. It's a great information. Thank you, Mark. This kind of feedback helps us to continue, come back more and more. And the next thing you're talking about, you mentioned burnout. As an experienced person, are there PMs or PGM positions you would say to steer away from?
I don't think it's necessarily specific positions. I think you have to understand your organization's culture and the people that you're working with. My organization is the most wonderful organization I've ever worked for. And yet, because of how stressful some of my projects are, I've gone through periods of burnout. I have individuals that are dealing with a difficult client on the DoD side, and they're struggling with a lot of burnout just because it's a difficult client to appease. So it has nothing to do with the project itself, I believe. It's just the people and the culture of your organization, and that's just something you're going to have to feel out for yourself and understand.
Yeah, I mean, burnout is kind of it's not a pleasant thing, and it is impacting people emotionally, depression, and all kind of things. But most importantly, once you understand the environment, the culture, and the program priorities, of course, everything important. The manager will come with 1,000 other projects for you or program for you. You need to understand, you need to make sure that they are also aware that you and your team is already overburdened and you are working on some deadlines, you moving to that. So they may come back to you with more and more requirements, but you need to stop. Sometimes you need to highlight there's a risk here. The quality get impacted, and the people might start leaving the organization, which is another big thing happening nowadays. And because of all the burnouts, people start leaving and moving to another organization, hoping that the other organization is better than the current organization. They go there and find the same thing. But as a person, there has to be some discipline you have to build around. One is looking after your health, emotions. If you are not into the health, maybe just do some walking, cycling, swimming, yoga. If you want yoga, I can help you with it. Or I'm a yoga teacher as well. And free yoga advice. And basically, it's all about controlling yourself. And I have gone through some very difficult stages and some of the impossible programs, kind of with the deadlines. And I was still there at end because I believe in myself. And I managed the time within my, prioritizing everything very effectively. And in the end, when I look back, hey, this is the best program I did. So always stay focused, have vision, and you need to know your capabilities, sometimes you cannot handle the situation. You need to go escalate it. Escalation is very, very, very important. If you cannot handle at your level, you need to go out to your steering committee and your sponsor and let them know this is what's happening. They may not realize that because they're not on the ground. You seeing your team going through this tough time. I think I get flow. This is interesting topic. So I can keep talking about this. All right. I will come back to your other question. Let me move on. What is the key contribution of female project program manager in North America region, as you are? How do women's empowerment and career growth shape today's organizational culture?
So I think the one concept that we keep hearing about, whether some people choose to believe it or not, is that glass ceiling, that pay scale difference between men and women. And I'm back and forth on it myself because I'm not afraid about asking about other people's salaries. That's not illegal. I get paid very well, and I understand that. I think my organization is very on scale with that. However, I went to the U.S. Bureau of Labor, and there is actually a 20% difference in the pay difference in men and women. But it's due to the negative attitudes about the ability of women to lead, which reduces the high-profile projects and assignments given to them. So essentially, there's this culture where people don't believe that the women can do these high-profile positions such as program and project managers. So they're not given the opportunity, so then they don't get the pay. However, I think that is changing extremely fast. Women, we think of we have paradoxical ways. We're competitive and collaborative. We're diplomatic and candid, tough and empathetic. We're community builders, holistic thinkers, and we have a relational intelligence. So, former Secretary of State Madeleine Albright gave the following advice to women: speak up. Do not wait for an invitation or permission. Interrupt if necessary. Make your point quickly and stay focused. Speak loudly. Make sure that you are heard and establish eye contact. And finally, never issue disclaimers or engage in demeaning yourself. So I think those are all really good points to think about. And in my journey, I've mentored with some really strong women in power. A lot of my mentors have been those women in power, those market directors, those vice presidents. And what I find is that those women in power are more likely to help other women that are driven and have those same goals. They're willing to help them, bring them through the ranks and mentor them to, I guess, even out that culture. So although there is a glass ceiling, I think it's breaking. I think the ceiling is breaking, and we're able to bring a different way of thinking to the organization and just make it whole. It
Mm.
You really got to empower others is really my main point there.
Yeah, but we're still yet to see the female president of America.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't get me started on that one.
Yeah. So all you talking, the women empowerment. I said, hang on, don't do this because don't bring this to my home. Women are already empowered at home and more stronger. Thank you. I can see that you have a lot of passion and emotion connected with that, and being a woman doing super or extraordinary job is and then the people are not realizing that, and maybe they have inferiority complex. They say if I give this project to her and she do extraordinary better than mine, then who will care? We'll talk about me, because in general women are better. They can handle other than direction, following the map. I think women are great. I don't know if this is correct or not.
I'm not going to disagree with you.
Only that part is upside down. Anyway, but great. Thank you for your response. Okay, to which extent has the PgMP body of knowledge impacted the work you're doing? This is from Mark Russell.
It's really given me a lot more knowledge about what I'm doing. So I'm only the second person in my entire organization to get my PgMP, is what I was told. So pretty much no one else has it. However, I was just moved to a brand new project around the same time that I had just got my PgMP. So a lot of things happening, a lot of changes, a lot of agility on my part. And I was listening to my DoD organization, and they're talking about some struggles that are happening. And I'm just like, I suggested, hey, that sounds like you should create a roadmap. What's a roadmap? Well, guess what? Now I'm in charge of creating a roadmap for our specific project, hopefully then for the program, and then potentially for the portfolio as we get other people involved. So because in real life, you're not going to go step by step by step like the standard is, but it really does come in handy, and all the different competencies in that standard are extremely helpful. And like the roadmap in the PgMP is one of those vital things. It's one of the first things you start with, your high-level roadmap. It's one of those things you're constantly updating with your schedule and everything. So it's the fact that I'm able to apply that, and I immediately went, oh, a roadmap. And it was very specific too, because we're briefing to a brand new colonel who's new to the situation. So what is that new colonel going to see and understand when they have 60 some programs to oversee? You bring them the roadmap. So create the roadmap.
Exactly. Yeah. So look, PgMP not going to make you superhuman, but it's giving you lots of tools and techniques and the way and the standard way of doing things. So you probably know everything as a program manager, but this is way. Just now you mentioned, if I have a roadmap, I can demonstrate my work even better, communicate much better to my management, to my team. This is one simple thing, the roadmap. And what about stakeholder engagement? The stakeholder engagement register, benefit register. Many things you learn, which most organizations don't even say, hi, this is actually very important tool, very simple to use, very important, and there you go. Your success suddenly become more achievable. And people recognize, hey, that makes sense, and we will adopt these things. Actually, more and more organizations are now start asking for PgMP. So if I do it with Google search or LinkedIn search, I probably find around 1,100 jobs asking for PgMP. It's not just a certificate because you have certificate. It's more about you learn. The beauty about PMI certificates, whether PMP, PgMP, PfMP, it's not that you can just read a book and go to the exam. You need to demonstrate that you have experience as a program manager, project manager, portfolio manager. Why this was, I used to ask questions, why I have to wait for 4 years before I apply for PgMP? Now, once you've done the program and you see the standard, hey, this is my gap, and you learn from those things. This is what I have been doing. It's okay, but this is where I can do my job better. And when you read the standard, when you read the practice guide from PMI, that makes you more stronger, better programming. So the PgMP in a way is very useful. So if you have not started the path, get started and get it done.
Yeah.
And it can be done in 1 month as well. And you can do in 2 hours. All right, my next question for you. How does the organization upskill project program managers, and why upskilling is so significant?
So I had to actually look up what upskilling was because I had never heard that word before. But in case anyone else on the line doesn't know, upskilling is just teaching an employee new skills. Makes sense, right? So as I've mentioned a million times, the environment for project and program managers is constantly changing. So upskilling is absolutely necessary. As previously mentioned, digital transformation's been adapted. So people in my organization, we've taken digital transformation training to upskill us. We've already described agile and safe principles. Those are being used for upskilling as well. Just other examples that I've seen are, get your PMP, your PgMP, your PfMP, or if you want to do a specialized course, go for your risk management professional. Do something in MS Project because a lot of different organizations use MS Project or Jira, or be a Scrum Master. You need to constantly grow. So don't ever stop learning and don't ever stop upskilling, because if you do, you're the one that's going to be left behind. Your upskilling only helps your organization. It's vital.
Yeah, very clear message. If you think that you have, enough knowledge, you have degree or you have masters, is this enough? No. What you learn, actually, if we go back to the degrees and master, whatever we talk about, those things generally looking backward. What happened? And some organizations, some universities are more proactive. They are bringing the new technology. But by doing the certification, whether PgMP, PfMP, or PMP, you're learning the current or the newer way of doing things. And that will make you better program manager, portfolio manager, project manager. So keep an eye on what can I do, what else I can do to improve my chances of becoming or seeing my organization as a program manager, professional program manager, or portfolio managers. So organize. Maybe nowadays technical skills also coming in picture. A lot of people are doing some cloud, some security related training, some of the AWS training. Anyhow, so it depends on your role, and as well as some technical skills and non-technical skills. So nowadays we're talking about project economy. So it's not about designation; it's about how you can get the things done, what skills you need, and get the skills. And by the way, I have tonight I have a presentation with PMI Fort Worth, the Fort Worth Dallas chapter, and I'm talking about challenges in the project economy. It's an interesting topic. It's not far away, 4 or 5 hours from now, and I'm looking forward to that. So if you are in the Dallas chapter and you have an invite, please join. And anyway, so I'm not promoting that. It's nothing to do with. It's talk just important. Okay. Another question I have is, how much unlearning is equally important to upskill?
I don't think I understand the question.
How much unlearning is equally important to upskill? Yes, you're upskilling new things, but what about you have bad practices in your
You have to have a really open mind, is what I've learned. Let's just take the PgMP, for example. Forget everything you know as a program or project manager, because it doesn't matter what you know and what you would do for your program. If it's not what PMI says you should do, it's wrong. So you, even just going for your PgMP or your PMP, if you haven't already, you have to unlearn everything that you've been doing for your job as a program or project manager and learn it a whole new way. So it's just really important to have that open mind. You can't have a narrow mindset when you're a project or a program manager, or you'll never keep up. Each one of these different, like the agile, the safe, the PgMP, PMP, they all have their own strategies, their own like dictionaries, their own glossaries, their own way of doing things, and you need to be able to be agile enough to switch between your ways of thinking.
Definitely, definitely. Yeah, so that's one thing happened in my class and when they're answering the question, they're thinking they're as if they're working for organization. So organization work versus what you sit in when you learn from the class and when you do the exam, can be two different things. What you do, let's say there's a urgent issue happen. What do? You just jump in and start doing it. But PMI expect you to document it. Then if somebody says, why we are worrying about too much of documentation? I tell you, documentations are very important, especially when you're running a very large, mega $1 million, billion-dollar work. Any single issue, it's not tracked, it's not registered, it's not analyzed properly, can become a disaster to your program. And when this happens, people will start going back to what happened. And if you haven't been documenting, this is your insurance policy. Hey, look, I identified this issue. I reported to my client or sponsor, and they decided not to proceed with that. And now instead of you getting the blame, at least you're not getting the blame. That's for sure. So because of your logging the documentation and all that thing. So that's what we talk. PMI is not talking about something extraordinary. They're asking what is minimum required. And of course, you can tailor out. Hey, I'm running a 3-month program. You don't have to do everything. But if you're running a mega $1 million, billion-dollar work, you probably have to do more than what PMI is asking. All right, thanks for your question. I have a couple more questions for you, especially came from the registration. And by the way, I have already shared the PDU code. If you have not seen, please check your chat. I've given the the course identifier and the PDU code. So this will give you one PDU. And if you are watching this webinar later on, please reach out to me. Dharam, I watched the webinar and talk about some of the good things you learned from this. I like to know that. So just like this webinar, other webinars already recorded and they are already available. Many of them can give you PDUs. So if you are looking for PDUs only, of course, learning as well PDU, then you can go to my webinar, my YouTube channel, and you can watch at least the last 1 year program if you're looking for PDU, because the PDU life is 1 year. After that, it will, PMI will retire them. So last 1 year recordings you can check. But if you're learning, you will find lots of good learning from many other people, very, very smart people. You'll find a lot to learn. Just like you learning here, you learn from those programs. All right. So let me ask the question, other question. What core value or skills do I need in order to train my team to become future leaders?
So I think we've pretty much already talked about this one, the core values. I don't think we need to necessarily reiterate it, but go back. We've discussed it. We've gone over it. If you still have questions, reach out to me.
I mean, I'm just reading the question here, before I don't want to miss that. So the next question I have is, how many times one need to go through the program in the body of knowledge book before sitting an exam?
That's a fun question. I can't give you a number because there is no number. It's until you understand it. And so what I did is that, I read all the way through it before I did anything. Every time I took some sort of quiz or exam and it would reference back, I would go and I would highlight it in a different color. If you look at my standard right now, pretty much every word is highlighted. Some of them highlighted 3 or 4 times, and that's when you need to know that. Yes. But it really just comes down to how you're learning the information. like Darren said, like 2 weeks into it, I was still worried. I was still very worried about the exam. I'm a high anxiety person. Darren got to experience that. But I think it was like a week and a half or so before my exam, and I was like only scoring in the 60s on some of my exams, and I was like, I'm ready. I can do this. I feel confident. And then like, just be patient. I'm like, all right. Like a week later, we talked. I only had like a few days before my exam, and when I say I was ready, there was nothing that I think I could have done more to study, because I knew that standard and that eco inside and out. And I knew the process to the point where, he was telling me, do not study the day before, at least don't do any exams. Well, for me, I'm one of those people that wants to study for the last second. I need all that information in my mind. But I listened to him and I wasn't worried, which is weird for me because I understood it. So it's not about how many times do you read it, it's how well you understand it and how well you understand the entire process. So if you're asked a question anywhere in the process, you know where you are, what comes before, and what comes next.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. So yeah, it's not about how many times you read the standard for program management or framework or ECU. It's about the understanding. And you may have to read 5 times. You may have to read. I mean, some people are seeing a couple of readings enough. Some people keep reading up to 15 times. No, it's not about number. It's about when it start making sense to you. Yes, obviously, when you read for first time, it's all some puzzle pieces everywhere. But when you I give an analogy like when you start reading first time, it's like you're going to jump from the plane 1,500 feet high, and you see only bits and pieces, small cars, but you've gone through one reading, and then you jump, you coming downward. Next reading, you start seeing better, bigger picture. You start seeing connection. Third reading maybe give you more visibility. So it is about how soon you can start getting the visibility, how soon you can see the connection. That can be 3 reading, can be 5 reading, but it's all about when you read the material, make sure you're creating vision in your mind. You can see the things flowing from one part to another, and that's what important. You just memorize things by reading 10 times. No, it's not going to happen. But if you have read a couple of times, 3 times, 4 times, but you can see the picture. This is how my program chart is created. This is how this is the difference between program chart and business case. The purpose of business case is this. Program chart is this. If it's not in the business program chart, it's not in the scope. We need to know that. Benefits. There are simple questions can struggle, make you struggle because you don't understand the difference between one document. Yes, by reading, it makes sense to you. But what is the difference between, in this case, program charter, programming plan? There's so many documents. So understanding is very, very important. When you go through the material, make sure you try to connect your learning with your real or hypothetical program. And see, if I'm running the same program now using PMI learning, how I'm going to run my program. And this is the concept of charter. Last question here. Is the PgMP similar to PMP? Is the PgMP similar to PMP? No, I like Briana to talk about. I think it's same, similar.
I may have a different idea than others because, so I know this is going to come as a surprise to you, Darren, but with my PMP, I took it 9 days after my boot camp. I said, I'm taking it, I'm getting it done, because it was about to change from the waterfall to the half agile, half waterfall. And I said, I want to take it before that happens. So I only gave myself 9 days of studying to do the PMP. I still don't know how I passed that. I did. Like, I can tell you, I don't know if I really understood the fundamentals of it. So I felt exactly like you did. I was going through, I'm going, I have no idea if I'm passing this. I went all the way through my 4 hours, all 4 hours, and I hit the end one. I'm just sitting there like, please say pass, please say pass, please say pass. And luckily it did. However, with the PgMP, I studied for a solid month. And when I say a solid month, I mean every spare hour of my time. I didn't watch TV. I didn't read a book. It was pure focus, a few mental breakdowns here and there, but pure focus. And I think I got through I was like halfway through the exam and I was like, I'm going to crush this exam. I just knew, like, I knew the answers. I was extremely confident and I wasn't trying to rush. I still marked which ones I wanted to and I went back to them. And I think out of all the ones I marked, I only changed two of them because they normally say, like, your first thought is normally the correct one. But went back anyway just to double check, give myself the extra time. Yeah, there was a completely different story with PgMP because I was so prepared. I knew like halfway through that not only was I going to pass, I was going to crush the exam, and I did.
Yeah, I mean that's why that's extraordinary. I don't see. Look, every exam is different. When somebody say harder, easier, it depends how ready you are, how prepared you are. If you are prepared, exam the same PGMP exam, and you probably go to LinkedIn or talk to people who've done the PGMP recently. Yeah, this was the most difficult exam I ever did. Somehow I was able to complete the exam, somehow pass the exam, or sometimes people say, I don't know what I'm doing. I actually, one person came to me after 5 attempts, believe it or not, 5 attempts. Dharam, he got your cat. Okay, and he came to me after 5 attempts. Dharam, I know about you for a long time, and I should have contacted you 3 years ago, but somehow I didn't do that. And because sometimes you underestimate the complexity of this exam. And we spent 6 weeks, with him. I spent 6 weeks with him, and he passed with our target. It's about the structure you get around, the learning pattern you go to have, and getting the bit by bit, small pieces every day, and keep building your knowledge and your mentality and ready to exam and pass exam. So yeah, so easy exam or difficult? Yes, I mean, believe it or not, I took 4 months, 4 years to do my PMP long time back. I'm not going to go there in 2000 to 2004. But PGMP I spent 4 months, and I'm talking 2009 type of thing. In those days, no, not many books available. There was no Dharam available to teach me. I was teaching myself, but in a way, there was Dr. Ginger Levine. She was helping me along the journey. But I was going through under guidance with the Dr. Ginger Levine, and just like you gone through my guidance and many people, and the guide or mentor can tell you what is are you right direction? Do you need something else to do? And that's what I was able to help you. But in a way, yes, exam can be easy or difficult, depends on how ready you are. PGMP exam can be easy if you are very prepared. Even PMP exam can be difficult if you're not prepared. And CAPM, if I ask you to do CPA exam tomorrow, then how can you do that? I'm not prepared. You go do the exam, that was a very difficult exam. I didn't have half the questions. It's because you're not ready for that. So guys, be prepared. When you go for the exam, make sure you've done everything what you have to do. Just like Briana was, when she was going for exam, she know everything, anything about the processes, and that task and activity and anything. So she was very, very ready. She's exceptional, I know. But I'm not expecting that you're going to be at the same level. But at the end of the day, I'm not expecting you complete the exam in 2 hours or even 3 hours. You pass the exam is more important. But before you do that, you are to be you are very prepared for the exam and very ready for the exam. Okay. All right. So many people are talking good things. Thanks, Dharam, Briana, for wonderful session. Thank you for your kind words. Love this. Thank Briana for your generous insight. Right. Good talk. Thanks, Dharam and Briana. Briana, did you take an online exam or in person? Yeah. So this is for you.
Yeah, I believe PgMP you have to do in person. I did my PMP virtually. That was so much more stressful. Like you can't like move your lips. You can't make a sound. Your cat can't walk into the room or they're gonna come on and be like, hey, disqualified. So honestly, it was so much better just to go to the center and take the exam. I could very quietly talk to myself. Need some expert knowledge sometimes. So PgMP in person.
Yeah, so there's no I think you're talking about the exam, which is you have to do PGMP exam. You have to go to center, but the preparation part is also important. I think that's what the person is asking, whether you took in online program or in-person program, and of course it was in-person program with me, and that's what it was. Okay, last question. I think this last question. Thank you. Can you send the information on where can we find study material for PMP and PMP? So, Mark, one thing you can do, you can book time with me, block my 15-minute time. I will be happy to take you through the journey and show you what are the things you can do. I can point you to my website and you can find the information, but best is you need to see what will work for you. Like Briana's situation, she was has a particular time until you go over a personal program. Some people like to have learning in a group program. So yeah, please book time with me, free of cost. Uh, wow, this is so beautiful. Yeah, I will take you through the journey. But yeah, Mark and all of you, thank you for your questions, wonderful questions. And Briana, thank you for your contribution. Your open and fluent answering the question. Of course, unbelievable. And thank you for your caps, last minute entertainment for all of us. And perfect. Any other question? Anything else? Any last minute thought you have, Briana?
I just say I've had a lot of people reach out to me and connect with me on LinkedIn since passing the exam. And I'm getting a lot of those same questions. Where do I get the best online exams? Where do I get the best information? Honestly, reach out to Dharam. I had a different mentor originally that I took a boot camp through, and they did not follow through. And I was at the point where I said, I am going to fail this exam. And that's when I reached out to him. And the references, the material, the online Udemy courses that he sent me to, invaluable. So he really does have the winning program, and you should absolutely utilize them if you can.
Thank you. Thank you for your kind words. So appreciate it. And once again, thank you, Briana, for your absolute time because to come to this session prepared, mentally prepared, and you're going to talk to so many people. It takes effort, and you're a very busy person. So thank you. And thank you, all of you. I know you're coming from different time zone and, different, some of them, I know, middle of night, 2 o'clock in the night. So whatever it is, this is shows eagerness to learn. And please come back again and again and talk to me for anything. I can help you with PgMP, PfMP, PfMP, or anything else. And I think Brianna is also open for, if you want to send me a LinkedIn connection, reach out to her, talk to her, and yeah, good. Thank you. All the best. Take care.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Bye.